You can hear me
I
again?
can hear you now. I was just concerned that the sound wasn't connecting. Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Just waiting on Peggy.
Nope, Peggy's
No, Peggy's
in.
in.
Yay. Peggy's in. Alright.
Am I there? Can you see me?
You are.
Alright.
Yes, yes, we can see you.
Yeah.
The wave going?
Alright, I'm gonna go ahead and call this meeting to order, but before I do a roll call, I need to read through a statement about this meeting setup. So due to the current federal and state emergency declarations and guidance about limiting person-to-person contact due to the COVID-19 coronavirus pandemic, all meetings of Austin Public Schools ISD 492 School Board will be conducted in accordance with Minnesota Statute 13D.021, meetings by telephone or electronic means until further notice. Consistent with the federal and state guidance, the board chair has determined that an in-person meeting is not practical or prudent because of the current pandemic. As a result, the April 13th, 2020 Austin Public Schools ISD 492 School Board meeting will take place at 3 p.m. at the district office, 401 3rd Avenue Northwest, Austin, Minnesota, with one or more board members possibly participating by telephone or other electronic means. In accordance with Minnesota Statute 13D.021, members of the public are not permitted to attend this meeting due to the current health pandemic. Persons may monitor this meeting from a remote location by visiting the school district website, www.austin.k12.mn.us, where they will find the live stream video. The meeting will also be available on our district's YouTube channel following the meeting. All votes for this meeting will be done via roll call, with responses being either yes or no from individual board members. So let's go ahead and start with roll call.
Dubay,
Here?
Fox,
Here.
Getz,
Here?
Green,
Here.
Leathers,
Here.
Lees,
Here.
Young.
Here.
All right, please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. You did it. Oh, can I get a motion to approve the agenda?
So move.
Second.
That's fine.
All in favor via roll call?
Dubay,
Yes.
Fox,
Yep.
Getz,
Here.
Green,
Yes.
Leathers,
Yes.
Lees,
Here.
Young.
Yes.
All right. We're going to jump right into our superintendent's report.
Chair DeBay, members of the school board, Austin community. Just some quick updates. I know that a lot of people think there isn't much going on right now, but hopefully you've seen in my weekend review that there's a heck of a lot going on. Actually, we're busier than we've ever been, and trying to make sure that our principals are ready, our staff are ready, and our students and families are ready for distance learning and are implementing the distance learning program. You know, I was trying to think of a good analogy of the change, and the best one I could come up with is, we all know what truckers do. They haul supplies in a you know, a multi-wheeled vehicle. Some of that would be an 18-wheeler, some could be a simple 6-wheel, but we all know they carry cargo to and from. So likening, you know, the teachers, they all can teach. They all know how to teach. They've all taught, most of them for a lot of years, but at least the new teachers this entire school year. They're great teachers. They do a great job. But what's happened is the truckers aren't calling freight anymore on their over the road. They're now asked to haul freight in a jumbo jet. And no training, they just told, you're gonna fly that jumbo jet, you're gonna take that cargo, and now you're gonna go from New York City to Los Angeles. How ready would those people be to do that? How many hours and days and probably years of training would that take to make that happen? Well, what has happened, folks, is that our staff, who have been trained and have taught a number of years to teach in a classroom setting, have been asked in an 8-day period to change their whole way of teaching to an online environment that isn't the same, that doesn't interact the same. And you know what? Our teachers and our principals have done an outstanding job. And I don't think we're getting enough credit for it. We don't hear it from the federal government, we don't hear it from our state government. And granted, we're probably not on the front line like our healthcare workers are, but by golly, our teachers need a lot of credit. Our food service for keeping this community alive by feeding over 3,500 meals a day need a lot of credit. Our community ed staff who are making sure that our most vulnerable kids, whose parents are on the front line, are being taken care of. And I'm here to say, I want to give them credit, and I hope people understand that. So that's the first thing I wanted to start off with. And yeah, it might sound a little preachy, but you know what? I think teachers have been downtrodden for long enough, and we need to have somebody stand up for what we actually do. So, moving on, just another thing, our annex project, we were on a meeting this morning, and it is on schedule and on time. It's unbelievable the work that's going on up there. We had said that the upstairs was supposed to be ready by mid-October for all of our students to move up there, and guess what? It's almost ready. Mark and I walked over after our meeting this morning, and it looks phenomenal. So hopefully at some point here in the next few weeks we'll be able to get everybody up there and see how it's going. It really, really is a phenomenal new addition. Our distance learning, as I said earlier, is going well. Today, in the initial startup of the distance learning, parents of our elementary students and our middle students were able to pick up packets to get through the first 2 weeks, because that was the initial directive from the governor, was we go 2 weeks. Well, he extended that a week or two ago, so we had to extend the distance learning to May 5th, and the second round of packet pickup was today, and the weather actually was pretty sunny compared to what it was yesterday, and our parents and our staff were all there picking up those packets to make sure our kids would be prepared for the next 3.5 weeks of learning. We'll wait to see what happens after May 5th. Right now, the directive is that students and teachers would be staying home until until April 30th, Thursday. Students would stay at home, but teachers then would be required to come in May 1st and May 4th to get ready for the kids to come back on May 5th. We'll wait to see if that's actually going to take place, but that right now is the current plan. And then finally, we're hearing out there that there's some pushback on the possibility of a referendum because we're saving these hundreds and if not millions of dollars because of the shutdown. I want people to clearly understand that in the directive the governor set forth, we are not allowed, nor should we be allowed, to furlough any of our staff. We are paying all of our staff, all of their salary for this time. And as we know in education, 80 to 85% of our costs are in human costs. So our budget is not saving money. Matter of fact, revenue-wise, we're actually losing money. We're losing money in our food service program because that's a revenue-producing program because we charge for meals. Right now, we're serving all those lunches I talked about. There is no charge for those meals. The daycare I said we provided, they're losing money because we cannot charge for those students to participate for us to provide that daycare. So there really isn't a lot of cost savings. There might be a few dollars here and there, but overall it's not a lot. Not in the scheme of our $100 million plus budget. There's very little money that's being saved. So I wanted that to be out there. I wanted the public to understand that. As we plan, as we look forward to our possible need for a referendum, that was clearly stated. Lori has been doing a tremendous job talking about the referendum. She's met with all of our staff and explained the financials so they understand where we're at. We've tried to bring in line, we continue to bring in line, finding cost savings as well as new revenue sources. But again, all of our revenue is pretty much based on per pupil units, and even though we continue to grow, it's not at the same rate as we were early in 2010, 2011 through 2015 and 16. So the expenses part, the inflationary part, is not keeping up with the revenue from the state, and the lack of state funding is really not kept up with that inflation also. Lori and I met last week with the Chamber of Commerce Government Affairs Committee. We presented on the referendum possibility, and they seem to understand where we're at financially. Lori's been working with the county now. The county has talked about reducing our taxes, reducing our revenue from our taxes, or delaying them, not reducing them, for a period of time. That will put constraints on us. We know that we count on those tax revenues, but Lori and the district are willing to work with the county to make sure that everyone is served well, and she's done a great job in finding ways to get through that restrained period of tax revenue. And then finally, we do have scheduled some further referendum presentations, one with the Morning Lions, and then one with Rotary next Monday. So that's my report. Are there any questions at this point?
Well, the other day I wrote you a short note remarking on the energy that you've shown over the last couple of weeks. I want to add another word to that. Passion. That's great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Does anybody on the phone have any comments or questions? I would just echo everything that you just said in terms of how wonderful the school district has mobilized in order to deal with this new challenge that we've been facing. I see it in my kids' teachers and the staff that I interact with as a parent.
I think Don Leather.
Yeah?
I think she froze.
I think she froze too.
Before Angie froze, it was hard for people not in that room to hear the statement that Don Leathers made, so I'm not sure if the public would have been able to hear that if this was being recorded.
Okay.
Want me to repeat that?
Yeah.
I wrote David a note the other day remarking on the high level of energy he's shown since this whole situation has started. And after his talk here a little while ago about all the staff in our school district, I have to add passion to that. And you probably couldn't feel that at your living room, but I'm sitting right next to him. And it really came out loud and clear that he's very passionate about his staff and his teachers and the direction our district's going amidst these difficult times.
Sure. Thank you for that. Yeah, and I was adding on just, agreeing with what Don said, agreeing with what David said, that our district has gone above and beyond as a district, And every single person that I've interacted with has done it with a smile on their face, and you can tell that they are here for the one purpose of serving our kids, serving the children in this district, and the teachers' passion shows online, even though they're in a very new space. It's very reassuring as a parent, but it's also it also makes me feel very proud as a board member to see how much everybody has been stepping up. This community definitely owes a debt of gratitude to all of the staff and faculty in the school district. And to kind of piggyback on what you said, I think it is very telling how much this community depends on our school district, and I'm very hopeful that people understand that when it comes time for us to come out to taxpayers looking for a referendum. I hope that we can all look back on this time and just be so proud of what we've done in this time of challenge.
David has done a good.
Yes, he has.
The last referendum was how many years ago?
I think we figured, the last one we asked for an increase was 03, is that correct?
I think that's what we.
Yeah.
Alright, thank you for that.
There was a short opinion piece in the paper the other day about a high school English teacher in Woodbury, and she got this directive to do this online learning, and she just froze. She went to the tech department, and those guys helped her out. So I'm sure that the tech department, I know I'd be calling them up asking for help right now. So I'm sure that they need a big pat on the back for the help that they've
Yes.
given to a lot of teachers in this district.
Absolutely, yep. Okay, we're gonna move on with our agenda. Can I get a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
This is Kathy, second.
All right, we're gonna do a vote of approval via roll call.
Dubay,
Yes?
Fox,
Yes.
Getz,
Yes.
Green,
Yes.
Leathers,
Yes?
Lees,
Here.
Young,
Yes.
All right, motion passes. All right, we're going to jump right into effective and efficient operations, starting with an overview and the request for the approval of the 2019-2020 amended budget with Executive Director of Finance and Operations, Lori Volz.
Madam Chair Dubay, members of the board, Superintendent Funk. I'm sorry.
That's
Oh my
okay.
goodness. I've had a bad afternoon getting here. Oh dear, I'm so sorry. I'm embarrassed.
It's okay.
Oh, Superintendent.
At least we caught it.
Oh, goodness. So regarding the amended budget, I've met with most board members, giving the overview and a review of the amended budget. It's always my goal to, mid-year, update the budget so we have as accurate as possible picture of our financials, not only for the purpose of analyzing them, but also to do a financial forecast for the upcoming year. And so this amended budget reflects actual staff that's been hired, any contract settlements, any and all. They're all settled, all the collective bargaining units have settled, and we have updated budgets on various grants and various programs, and so this reflects a very updated look based on also our estimated enrollment. And so with the enrollment is projecting to come in about 30 ADMs, better than last year. I want to emphasize we're funded on the number of students that we serve, basically, and so what is happening with our enrollment is crucially important with our financials. And so while it's not increasing by much, at least it's in the right direction, and that's a plus. That it's not plateaued, it has a slight increase. So just to hit the overview, I'm going to focus on the unassigned general fund, which is where our main operations are. And in the unassigned general fund, again, that's where we have the staff salaries charged, that's where we have utilities and material purchases, things like that, in the unassigned general fund. This budget is reflecting that in the current year, 1920, we are showing a deficit spending situation of about $900,000. I want to emphasize, since the start of the year, there's a variety of cost-saving measures that I put in place, finding efficiencies through bidding various insurances out and so forth, realigning how expenses are recorded in certain programs. The savings that this budget already reflects is about $344,000. So that our financial picture did improve from the original budget due to some of those factors. I just want to emphasize that. But we are still in a deficit spending mode. And so that is, I just want to clarify and emphasize that that is why an operating referendum is being recommended, why I'm recommending that to the board for consideration. And also it is important to look at our fund balance policy and keep that in mind. Our fund balance policy indicates that we strive to meet a fund balance of 8.33%, which is equivalent of 1 month of expense in the general fund. And with this particular update, the estimated fund balance in the unassigned general fund would be 5.16%. So we would be still below our fund balance policy. Just as a FYI, when we are on to figures from last year of June 30th of 19, 6.87%. So we were last year already dipping below our fund balance policy, and we're still dipping even farther down below. And that's another reason an operating referendum is to help adjust that. And I want to emphasize the reason we need a fund balance is for cash flow. And now what's happening with the property taxes being delayed to us, this is exactly why we need a fund balance, because the state, even though the majority of our revenues are in the form of state aid, like 85% of our overall revenues in the general fund, however, the state doesn't pay us everything that's due us in the current year. They pay about 90% of what's due us, and it's metered out all throughout the year, so it's not like we get that all up front. And so that is why we do need to watch what that fund balance is and look for efficiencies in our operations, as well as making sure that we analyze what our class size targets are, and that we're staffing appropriately by the number of sections that we have in the various grade levels. So that's kind of hitting the highlight in the general fund. The other funds, like food services, was budgeted to be breaking even, but now with the COVID-19 situation, there will be some loss of revenue there in that category, as David mentioned. Community Service Fund, the programs were put in place where there is some spend down of some of those fund balances, but also regarding the school age care, as David mentioned as well, that we are not bringing in fees for that. We're implementing that program and providing the service. So in that particular area, we'll be consuming some fund balance there to cover that deficit spending for that program. And these are the kinds of things that the governor is asking, and the legislature, MDE, is recommending to us, that we look at ways to cover those particular losses that we might be running as we're providing these very important services for our students. So overall, just to hit the highlight, grand total, our budget, all funds combined, is $100 million budget. And so it takes a lot of money to operate the school district, but I'm working very hard to find ways for cost efficiencies and maximize our revenues. So basically, what I'm looking for the board is to make a motion for approval of the amended 1920 budget. And just to emphasize that management control is given to line item levels. I just hit the highlights, but are there any questions?
Are there any questions on the phone? Okay, can I get a motion to approve the 2019-2020 amended budget?
So moved.
This is Kathy. I make a motion.
Second.
Is there any further discussion? If not, we will move into a roll call vote for approval.
DeBay,
Yes.
Fox,
Yes.
Getz,
Yes.
Yes. Green,
Yes.
Leathers,
Yes.
Lees,
Yes.
Young,
Yes.
Motion passes for the approval of the 2019-2020 amended budget.
I would just like to add, after the fact, that Lori's done a great job, along with Mark, on finding the efficiencies and making sure that we're in a good place moving forward. The other thing about the fund balance, and I think something that everyone needs to understand, we're still in a positive cash flow, we're still in a positive place here, and we want to get ahead of it, and that's the key ingredient. In my time that we've been here, we've gone from, you know, the 8.5% all the way up to almost 20% fund balance. And why do you have those sort of fund balances? Prior to the opening of I.J. Holton, we built the fund balance. That means we didn't overexpend, we didn't add a lot of staff, we didn't do a lot of those things for the reasons we knew we were opening a building that would cost almost $1.5 million a year more to operate. So we wanted to make sure we were in a good place. And we did. We dropped down to about 12% after we opened I.J. Holton. And then after that, for the next couple of years, we rebuilt that fund balance to around 16%. And at that time, we were still seeing those higher enrollments coming in. We were around 75 to 125 students per year, and we're able to do that. Well, we've heard a lot about flattening the curve. That's basically what a fund balance allows you to do, is flatten those spikes and valleys in a budget. Because not every year you're going to go up 125 kids. Some years you might go back 30 or 40 kids. And that's what we've started to see again. Not that we're dipping below, but we're not seeing those large increases. So that fund balance helps you smooth out those spikes and valleys so that you can maintain. So you don't have to go and lay off 50 teachers or 100 staff to make that. You can make those adjustments with, you know, a half a dozen people that make that leveling off worth it. And that's what we're doing at this point. But it doesn't mean that in the future, as we look at the numbers, as I told Dick, I like to look at the numbers earlier, that our numbers are flattening out. So instead of 100, we're going to start seeing increases of 30. So we have to look at more revenue somewhere else, because I don't think we're going to get it from the state. No.
Next, we're going to have the request approval of future budget amendments in relation to grants, also with new votes.
Madam Chairman of the board members, and superintendent friends. For your consideration is another motion regarding budget amendments, and this is just covering us for future amendments in regards to MDE grants between now and the end of the year. It's just kind of a formality just to cover that budget adjustment, and again, management control given at the line item level.
Can I get a motion to approve the future budget amendments in relation to grants?
Second.
Any discussion? If not, we will move to a roll call vote for approval.
DeBay,
Yes?
Fox,
Yes.
Getz,
Yes.
Green,
Yes.
Leathers,
Yes.
Lees,
Yeah.
Young,
Yes.
All right, motion passes. And finally, we will with Lori Volts, we will continue to hear about cost savings and efficient operations resolution.
Madam Chair Dubay, members of the board, Superintendent Krenz, for consideration is approval of the resolution directing the administration to make recommendations for cost savings and efficient operations. And so you can see the full verbiage of the resolution here. The purpose here is it's a standard resolution so that administration can make adjustments in staffing basically for the next fiscal year.
This is an annual resolution, we do this every year. Whether it's in good times or bad times, it's a good resolution to have, because maybe we have few students show up for a certain program. So it allows us then to reduce that program if need be. Or if we have more kids in a new program, it allows us to add that program. So I think those are the types of things that are important to understand.
Can I get a motion to approve the cost savings and efficient operations resolution?
So moved.
Second.
Alright, is there further discussion? If not, we'll have a roll call vote for approval.
Dubay,
Yes?
Fox,
Yes.
Getz,
Yes.
Green,
Yes.
Leathers,
Yes,
Lees,
Yes.
and Young.
Yes.
Alright, we have one more item with Lori Volts. We have our request for the approval of donations.
Madam Chair Dubay, members of the board, Superintendent Krenz, for consideration of accepting donations. We have just a few this month. We have anonymous donation of $500 for boys tennis for expenses. Class of 1950, $65 for the high school choir. Hormel employee match, $197 for IJ Holton Vex Robotics. And Northwestern Singers donated $510 for IJ Holton 5th grade choir. And that's it.
Can I get a motion to approve the donations?
So moved. Second.
Any discussion, other than to thank our generous donors for their continued generosity during this challenging time? Yeah. Roll call vote.
Dubay,
Yes.
Fox, Getz,
She froze
Oh,
again.
and she's frozen.
Green,
I
Yeah.
think I saw her head nod, yeah.
Yes.
Leathers,
yes,
Lees,
Yes.
Young.
Yes.
Alright, motion passes for the donations. Thank you. Okay, we're going to move into human resources, and we're going to hear from our Executive Director of Human Resources, Mark Raymond, first about non-renewal of probationary teachers.
Superintendent Krenz, Board Chair Dubay, members of the board, I have a resolution here for non-renewing of probationary teaching contracts. Whereas Leah Browning, Emily Elkin, Steve Fetzig, Zach Shara, and Ryan Whiteman are probationary teachers. Now therefore be it resolved by the School Board of Independent School District 492 as follows. Pursuant to the Minnesota Statutes, Section 122A.40, Subdivision 5, the probationary teaching contracts of Leah Browning, Emily Elkin, Steve Fetzig, Zach Shara, and Ryan Whiteman are hereby non-renewed, and their employment with Independent School District number 492 is hereby terminated effective at the end of the 19-20 school year. The school board has reviewed and hereby approves the written notices informing the teachers of the non-renewal of their probationary contracts. The superintendent is directed to sign the written notices of non-renewal on behalf of the board. The superintendent or his designee is directed to serve the affected probationary teachers with a copy of this resolution and the written notice informing the teacher of non-renewal of his or her probationary contract. Service shall be accomplished by hand delivery of the non-renewed teachers and shall take place before July 1st, 2020. The school board would like to take this opportunity to thank the teachers identified above for their service to the district. I would recommend that you approve this resolution.
What's our next step here? Do we do an individual roll call for each?
It would be for each individual.
can I get a motion to approve the non-renewal of probationary teachers?
So move.
We'll have to do it individually, so we need to
Oh.
call each name and then we'll go.
Okay,
Okay, motion and a second on each one.
okay, thank you, I appreciate that. Okay, so we are going to, I'm gonna ask for a motion to approve the non-renewal of Leah Brownwig's, Leah Brownwig.
Rick.
Can I get a motion?
So move.
We'll do a roll call vote,
Dubay,
yes?
Getz, oh, I'm sorry,
Yeah.
Fox,
Yes.
Green,
Yeah.
Leathers,
Yes.
Lees,
Yeah.
Young. Yes.
Alright, motion passes for Leah Brownwig. Brownwig, my apologies. Can I get a motion to approve the non-renewal of, probationary teacher Emily Elkins?
So moved.
Kathy, so moved.
Will we accept that as a second?
Sure.
Okay, thank you. We'll do a roll call vote,
Dubay,
yes?
Fox,
Yes.
Getz,
Yeah.
Green,
Yes.
Leathers,
Yes.
Lees,
Yes.
Young. Yes.
Alright, motion passes. Can I get a motion to approve the non-renewal of probationary teacher Stephen Fetzik?
So move.
Second.
Alright, roll call vote,
Dubay,
yes?
Fox,
Yes.
Getz,
Yeah.
Green,
Yes.
Leathers,
Yes.
Lees.
Yep.
Is that a yes or no?
Yes.
And Young. Yes.
Alright, motion passes. Can I get a motion for the non-renewal of probationary teacher Zach Shara?
So move. Second.
Roll call vote,
Dubay,
yes?
Fox,
Yes.
Getz,
Yeah.
Green,
Yes.
Leathers,
Yes.
Lees,
Yes.
Young. Yes.
Alright, motion passes. And finally, can I get a motion for the non-renewal of probationary teacher Ryan Whiteman?
So move.
Second.
Second.
Alright, can I get a roll call vote,
Dubay,
yes?
Fox,
Yes.
Getz,
Yeah.
Green,
Yes.
Leathers,
Yes.
Lees,
Yeah.
Young. Yes.
I would just like to say this is one of the more difficult things I have.
Yeah, and I wanna be clear on this. There are many reasons that you take care of this procedure. And again, this is more procedural than it is in any, do not think of this as a disciplinary or any of that action. As you know, it's been very difficult to hire teachers in certain licensure areas. And when you look, law requires that if we hire a teacher who's not licensed in a certain area, that we have to terminate them. That does not mean that there might not be positions, okay? So people understand that this is a procedural type of situation. I want you to, so you don't have to feel bad like Don does. It'd be nice if legally there are ways to get around it, but we don't have those legal ramifications. Does that help? Makes, okay.
They'll be rehired when then, normally?
So if and when there's an opportunity for a position that's available, we would have to post a non-renewal position because of licensure for up to 60 days before we could legally hire somebody back on a licensure variance. And so in order to create a position, in order to post that, we have to have that position to do it. So like David was indicating, on the cases that are by licensure, we're non-renewing and it would take us 60 days of posting before we could hire that person back on an out-of-field permission is what it would be called.
And that's the procedural element it's frustrating on our part Because, we have to do this with good teachers. And the chances are that if they chose to go looking for a job somewhere, they're gonna get a job. But it is what it is at this point, statute-wise. I can't blame the legislators, it's just the way the laws and interpretation of those laws read. So, we have in place a lot of positive things to help our teachers. The problem is, the licensure area is so strict in some of these areas, and there's getting fewer and fewer in some areas like special ed, in EL, for instance, that you can't find them, so you hire licensed teachers, but not licensed in specific areas. So then we have to go through this. Okay.
Well, we used to, due to the budget, we used to let some teachers go on with the understanding that they would be hired back. This is not the case. It was a budget thing then.
You're right, this is not that same. If the budgets came in those situations, there is one teacher in that situation, okay? But in those cases, those people would have a right back, Dick, according to contracts. That isn't necessarily the case if you're not due to a,
Financial.
yeah, there's a term, unrequested leave.
Yeah.
So, okay, it's just, and as we move through the difficult times of finding licensed teachers, this is the result.
Mark, have you noticed, when you go to hire, the numbers are less than they were? Of course, you wouldn't know, you haven't been at it too long, but, than they were 10 years ago.
You know, the teaching pools have definitely gotten smaller, and that's a phenomenon that's happened districts throughout the state. We've been very fortunate, I think, in Austin, just in this area of the state. We are one of the bigger districts. We are a district that people want to work for, and so we do draw a good candidate pool. We have the WSU 2+2 program in our own district here, which provides us with a lot of elementary ed candidates that are top notch, and so that has helped us. And we have some really good people working on hiring practices, and I'll highlight one. Sherry Wilrott has been out taking care of her hiring in special ed this spring via distance interviews. She's been doing a lot of video interviews and has been very successful in attracting fully licensed special ed candidates to our district. The pools are smaller, but I do believe we've been very successful at hiring really good candidates based upon reputation of Austin and the people that are working on it.
And that's a very good point, Mark. It's about leaders like Sherry who get out ahead of it and are willing to take a new approach to it. It's also the support we give to our new staff with John and Edwina and those folks that are there to really help. So it really makes a difference, because a new teacher coming in, they want to see that there's people there to support them.
I can tell you that the mentorship program is one of the highlights when I do recruiting. It is something that a lot of districts do not offer as robust a program as we do. And it is an incentive for people to come to Austin.
Great to hear. All right, we have one final agenda item, and that is our request for the approval of probationary contract extensions with Mark Ring.
For your consideration, I would ask that you approve the agreement for extension of probationary periods for the following teachers for the 2021 school year: Cassandra Owens, Jessica Dahman, Fernando Garcia, and Brandon Tharp. We wouldn't need to do them all individually, we could do them as a group.
Okay, thank you for that. Can I get a motion to approve the probationary contract extensions?
So,
moved. Second.
Any other questions regarding that? If not, we will move to a roll call vote for approval.
Dubay,
Yes?
Fox,
Yes.
Getz,
yes,
Green,
Yes.
Leathers,
Yes,
Lees,
Yes.
Young.
yes.
can I just ask a question? How come it sounds like Kathy Green is sitting right over there?
Isn't that nice? Yeah.
That is really great.
Pretty great.
And there's another instance, through our tech support, we never had the capability of doing, I know Kathy just called in individually, but all of you could call in on this one line now. We could have a conference call, and Mike Jones and Eric Harder and the tech support staff did a lot of research on how we could use our current system to make that happen, and they came up with that, as they have with many instances that our staff utilizing in the distance learning capabilities. So they learned to fly quicker than the others.
And they got a lot of cargo.
Yeah.
They do. So this is a reminder that there is no study session in April because we are attempting to continue with our social distancing, and we are eliminating non-essential meetings. So hopefully we will all be back in our regular space for our May meeting, but if not, we look forward to another session similar to this in May. So can I get a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
This is second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. I think we can just do a group vote on that. Is anybody opposed?
I think he's already starting to dance up there.
Alright, have a wonderful afternoon, everybody, we'll talk to you later.
Thank you.
Bye.
Great job for your first distance learning
Yeah,
school
very
board meeting.
Yay.